Welcome to Elevated Echoes, a peaceful place where ancient love stories come to life, softly told to help you relax, reflect, and gently fall asleep. Here, we share romantic bedtime stories inspired by the beauty and faithfulness found in the Old Testament. These are tales of patient hearts, quiet promises, and the kind of love that grows slowly, just like a tree planted by still waters. So, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let each word guide you into rest. This is your time to unwind, to dream, and to remember that love, faith, and peace are always worth waiting for. In a quiet village, nestled between the hills of Shiloh, where goats wandered freely and the breeze smelled of olive trees and earth, there lived a girl named Hannahaiah. She was not the daughter of kings, nor from a family of prophets. Her father was a shepherd, and her mother had passed when she was young. But even without riches or titles, Hannahaiah had something rare, a heart full of quiet strength. She woke before the sun to help her father tend the flock. She fed the lambs, baked bread from barley, and carried water from the spring just beyond the edge of the village. Every day when her work was done, she walked up the hill to sit beneath an almond tree, her favorite place in all the world. The almond tree stood tall, its arms wide, like a welcoming embrace. It was the first to bloom every year, bursting into pink and white flowers while the rest of the world still slept in winter. That's why Hannahaiah loved it. "It believes in spring," she whispered once, "even when it's still cold." She often sat under its branches, humming songs from the Psalms, her voice blending with the wind. And though she never said it aloud, her heart carried a prayer. "Let love find me, not loud or grand, but steady, like this tree, like your promise." Far from Shiloh, in the town of Ramathaim-Zophim, lived a young man named Elian. He was a scribe, one who copied the scrolls of the law, the Psalms, the words of the prophets. He was known for his gentle spirit and careful hands. People often said, "He writes with the same patience he speaks." Elian lived alone, tending a small garden and lighting his oil lamp each night to continue his work. He loved the scriptures deeply, not just the words, but the heart behind them. But sometimes As he wrote of Isaac loving Rebekah, or of Jacob working 7 years for Rachel, he would pause and wonder if such love could be real for him. He had never been in a rush to marry. He prayed for someone whose heart beat with the same quiet rhythm as his, someone who knew how to wait, how to trust, and how to hope. During the feast of the new moon, the priests at Shiloh sent word that they needed scrolls delivered and copied for worship. Elian was chosen to go. He arrived in Shiloh with dust on his sandals and scrolls in his bag. After helping the priests, he took a walk along the village path, curious and calm. That's when he heard her. A soft, beautiful voice singing verses from the Psalms. The sound seemed to float on the breeze. He followed it, and there she was, standing beneath an almond tree, her head slightly tilted to the sky, singing to the wind. He didn't speak at first. He just stood there, humbled, as though he had stepped into a story not written by his own hand. When her song ended, he gently said, "Is it the tree that sings, or is it you?" Hannahaiah turned, surprised. She smiled, but said nothing. Instead, she nodded toward the ground beside her, offering him a place to sit. That first conversation was short, but something passed between them. Not the excitement of a fairy tale, something deeper, recognition, as if their hearts had been waiting to meet. That winter, a famine struck. The roads between towns became dangerous. Travel was delayed. Word from Ramathaim did not come. People whispered, "He won't return. He's forgotten." But Hannahaiah did not believe it. She continued to climb the hill each morning, even when the tree was bare, even when the skies were silent. She would sit and sing, whispering the same prayer. "Oh, if you've written this love, Lord, let it return in your time." The villagers called her foolish. Her father tried to comfort her, but no one could take the hope she carried in her heart. 2 full years passed, then 3. It was early spring when Hannahaiah felt something stir, not in the earth, but in her spirit. The tree had not yet bloomed, but the wind felt softer. She walked up the hill like always, and there, standing by the tree, was a figure covered in dust and travel. His robe was torn, but his eyes those same eyes were filled with light. "Elian," she breathed. He smiled, stepping forward. "I have walked far. I have written many scrolls, but no words have stayed with me like yours." Then he knelt and said, "Under this tree, I found more than love. I found faith. Will you marry me, Hannahaiah?" Tears welled in her eyes, not from sorrow, but from joy. "Yes," she said, "and I will wait for you no more, because you are here." Their wedding was simple, joyful, and held beneath the almond tree. As they said their vows, the blossoms bloomed, days earlier than anyone expected. The wind carried their fragrance through the village. Even the elders said, "This is a marriage written in heaven." They built a home not far from the hill. Elian continued writing scrolls. Hannahaiah planted flowers and raised sheep. Together, they raised children who learned how to pray, how to listen, and how to love. And every year, when the almond tree bloomed again, Elian and Hannahaiah would walk to it hand in hand. They would sit beneath its branches and remember. Because theirs was not just a love story, it was a story of waiting, a story of faith, a story of the quiet ways God fulfills His promises. Love that comes from God doesn't rush or fade. It waits. It trusts. Like the almond tree, it may bloom in the cold, but only because it knows spring is coming. Before you drift off to sleep, let me share with you another beautiful love story from the Bible. It's the story of Ruth, a story about kindness, loyalty, and how true love begins in the quiet moments. So get cozy, take a deep breath, and let your heart rest as we begin this peaceful journey together. A beautiful love story of kindness and faith. Once upon a time in Bethlehem, in the days when the world was ruled by judges and fields were golden with barley, there lived a woman named Ruth, whose heart was as loyal as the morning sun. She was not born in Bethlehem. She was a foreigner from Moab, a land of different gods, different customs, but she chose to walk away from everything she knew for love. Not romantic love, Not yet. It was the love of a daughter-in-law for her grieving mother-in-law, Naomi. When Naomi lost everything, her husband, her sons, he decided to return to her homeland. She begged Ruth to stay in Moab, to start over, to find a new husband. But Ruth held her hand and whispered the words that would echo through time. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Back in Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth lived humbly. They had no riches, no home of their own. To feed them, Ruth walked into the barley fields to glean, to gather what was left behind after the harvesters had passed. She bent quietly, picking grain stalk by stalk, not knowing that she was walking into destiny. The field belonged to a man named Boaz, a man of character, a man of respect. And though he was older, he carried a gentleness in his voice and a kindness in his eyes. Boaz noticed Ruth, not just her beauty, but her spirit. I've heard of all you've done for Naomi, he said. You left your people and came to live among strangers. May the Lord reward you for your faithfulness. And with that, he protected her. He told his men not to harm her. He gave her extra grain. He watched over her from a distance, not rushing, not chasing, just caring. Love sometimes begins in the quiet. One night, Naomi gave Ruth quiet advice. Boaz is a redeemer of our family, she said. Go to him, not boldly, but humbly. He will understand. That night, Ruth went to the threshing floor where Boaz slept. She lay at his feet, not with shame, but with dignity. When Boaz woke, startled, Ruth spoke only one sentence. Spread your cloak over me, for you are a redeemer. In ancient days, it was a gentle way of saying, take me under your protection. If you are willing, let me be your bride. Boaz's heart was moved. He said, do not be afraid. I will do for you all that you ask. But he was a man of honor. First, he made sure no other had the right to redeem Ruth. And when all was settled, when it was right and pure, Boaz took Ruth as his wife. Their home was full of joy. Laughter returned to Naomi's lips as she held their child, Obed, in her arms. The same arms, once empty with grief. True love is patient and kind. Boaz did not chase Ruth. He honored her. Ruth did not seek wealth. She showed humility. Their love grew from respect. Faithfulness brings favor. Ruth's loyalty to Naomi opened doors to blessings she never imagined. God sees beyond where you came from. Though Ruth was a Moabite and an outsider, she became the mother of kings. Love begins in service. Ruth served before she was noticed. She loved before she was loved. That is real beauty. There is no such thing as too late for love. Naomi thought her story was over, but through Ruth, God gave her a new beginning. And now, as you close your eyes, remember, love is not always loud. Sometimes it waits quietly in golden fields. Sometimes it walks beside sorrow. Sometimes it lies at the feet of honor. And always it begins with the heart. Sleep peacefully. Your own beautiful story is still unfolding.